Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and in this video, we are going to be doing a champion guide, a deep dive, a look at Ragash, where we go over the kit and analyze the base stats and the abilities and the AI, and then show him built-in damage gear and what he's kind of capable of, how hard he hits, how you should build him, and how everything is going to work in regards to Ragash. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so the reason for this video is sometimes with these champion guides, I have no idea when the viewer is watching. It could be right away or it could be a year later. But the reason for this video on Ragash is because he was part of a guaranteed summoning event based on 150 ancients being pulled by the player. I did a dedicated video discussion with Scratch that I will try to remember to link over there, where we talked about at that moment in Raid Shadow Legends if we thought that he was worth the 150 ancient shards for the guaranteed event. So if you want to check that out, that will be over there when I had it pop up. But now I want to talk about Ragash and do the champion guide part of going over him. First off, he was an addition to the Skinwalkers when they definitely needed an addition, because Skinwalkers is that faction that people in the community feel like gets the least amount of attention. So anytime they get a pretty solid legendary added to the roster, or epic or rare for that matter, it's definitely a good thing. And Ragash is definitely a solid champion that they added for a few different reasons. Starting with base stats, the 102 base speed is great. He's got 60 base resistance and accuracy, which is awesome. And in terms of defense and HP, the attack is worthless on him, but defense and HP is perfectly fine. He's going to be scaling his damage with defense. The A1 can hit okay. It is a multi-hitter, and what's nice about this is it's going to basically keep a permanent increased defense buff on him. And since he has a really good base defense, he is going to scale well with gear, so a 60% increase that is going to be permanently on him is definitely a welcomed thing for the A1 to have, along with being a multi-hitter. Now the A2 is going to be an AoE that we can book up to a 100% chance and a 3-turn cooldown of not only decreasing the defense of each enemy for 2 turns before attacking, which is huge, because if you don't have defense down, he's going to place it before attacking and then be able to hit that much harder just off of himself debuffing before he goes, which is very important. That's not very common in some nuking abilities that are AoE damage dealers. But he's also going to have a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn after attacking. So we're getting defense break, AoE damage, and CC in the form of a stun, which is the best CC. It's not like a sleep or something where we can interrupt it. So we've got a lot of cool things going on with the A1 and the A2 here so far. And then for the A3, we are going to get a 25% strengthen and a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. Plus, we're going to place a perfect veil on this champion for 2 turns. Now, the unfortunate thing is this does book to a 4-turn cooldown, but he would be pretty insane if this booked to a 3-turn cooldown, so I think it's probably fair. We also get a passive at the start of every turn. We're going to place a perfect veil buff for 1 turn on the ally with the highest attack, which is going to be handy for keeping some of those priority damage dealers on your squad not getting targeted by your enemies. And he's going to inflict 20% more damage against targets whose defense is lower than this champion's defense, which in any sort of like a tag team arena type of a context is probably going to be occurring because he's going to have very high defense. And he also gets a really good aura. It's all battles, which is what we're looking for, and then a pretty decent percent in 30% ally defense. So all in all, very solid, very generally useful, and I think any account that is in the progression phase, maybe early game, mid game, that gets this guy is definitely going to want to utilize him in at least many capacities. For sure, these Skinwalkers faction wars, he's going to be great there. He's tanky. He has an aura. He's gonna increase strengthen and speed. He's going to crank out a decent amount of damage. He's going to defense break. He's going to place perfect veil on your highest attack. He will definitely be in almost every Skinwalker team out there for anybody that summons him. But now let's head on over to the Ragash that I have got built, and we'll talk about how to build him and the masteries, the booking, and everything that goes into utilizing him as a champion. So here is the Ragash that I've got built. Worth noting that at the time of recording this video, I am on the test server that Plarium will open up for us every now and then when there's new champions to the game or something going on in game where it's not the live version of the game, and we can kind of play around with stuff to be able to bring some content out there for you. But what I did here was I built him in a damage dealing context. It's not perfect because his crit rate is not capped at 100%. I'm missing 8%, but I was able to get him a pretty decent amount of defense and crit hit damage to test how well how he is going to hit in a damage dealing context. And if you want to see the total stats, kind of what we went, I can move myself out of the way so that you can see that. If you want to compare it to a build you are doing for this guy or something like that, there is that. But that's why I built him like that. I'll show you how hard he hits, and we can talk about if you would like to build him in that context or not, and we'll kind of wrap up everything here at the end. But when you're putting this guy together, he's a little bit of a hybrid champion, maybe like a Sir Nick or a Drexstar, where he can be tanky, but he can do a decent amount of damage as well if you build him to do so. So definitely one of those hybrid general utility champions. You're going to be looking for accuracy, because he does do the defense break and the stun. You've got two different ones here on the A2. So any sort of high speed, accuracy, defense type of a build with some crit rate and crit damage maybe is going to be what you're kind of looking for on him. Basically every stat can at least be usable on him except for attack. But for the booking process, he is going to take 4 plus 4 is 8 plus 2 is 10 books in total. And I mean, if you get lucky, you definitely want to nab the 3 cooldowns that are up for grabs when you're booking him. And if you get lucky, you save a book or 2 on the A1. I could see justifying doing that. In terms of the masteries, I did go this route because I was going to be testing him as a damage dealer, and I wanted to be super consistent. So I went with the crit damage one just to make sure I'm not relying on like testing enough to get Helmet Smasher procs and stuff like that. But I don't recommend doing these masteries on a hybrid build. This was mainly so I can make him hit as hard as possible for the video footage that I'm about to show you when I show how he compares to someone like Candyfron in terms of how he's going to hit. Let's show him in action here on auto so you can see what he's going to be prioritizing. There is the AoE that you can see he placed the defense break and then also the stun. That's probably a good one to look at. Let me go ahead and replay this on ×1. So when I hit auto, he's going to do that AoE swiping attack. He's going to place a defense down before he does so. And right there, and then we get all of those stuns going down. So that is a super oppressive ability, and worth noting always the AI on champions. He will do that AoE almost always when you're using him in game and you have him on auto. That will be what he prioritizes. And then the next turn, obviously, he will place all of the buffs, and then he will just do the A1 until he's getting abilities off of cooldown. And now I want to go ahead and pull up some footage that I recorded from the test server when I was preparing for this video, so you can get a little bit of a look at how he's going to compare in certain areas of the game. So right here, I'm going to be showing you an example of attacking void enemies with everything kind of set up how we want it. I'm going to be comparing him to a Candrafon. Now, the Candrafon is going to be set up with the Veil and the increased attack, and then we've also got defense down and weaken on the opponents, and we have got a void affinity, so it will be a neutral hit. So we have got Candrafon right here. And, you know, I like to look at kind of the one on the far right is the easiest to see. We get a 151 crit from Candrafon right there. And now I'm going to be showing you the AoE here on Ragash with everything set up. It's very important. He needs a different scaling buff than Candrafon. Candrafon needs the attack up. Ragash is going to need the defense up in order to scale up that stat to make him hit a little bit harder. So we've got everything kind of set up. Both champions built for damage. And let's see how he compares to someone like Candrafon when he does his AoE. Right there, you can see the swipe for 112 on the champion on the far right, whereas Candrafon did 151. Now, the gear, if anything, was probably a little bit better on Ragash. So definitely not going to be hitting, you know, an AoE nuke like Candrafon, especially when you've got Candrafon perfectly set up with the Veil on top of it. Maybe if you didn't have the Veil on the Candrafon, they would probably be decently comparable. But when you've got a fully set up Candrafon or a Trunda or something, Ragash not going to be nuking on that level. But honestly, he does okay. He can definitely output a little bit of damage if you let him do so, and you've got everything built around him, like the defense down, the weaken, the defense up, and everything ready to go. And then I've got this clip right here. So this is going to be the multi-hitter A1. I used him in a Hydra fight to see how he compares to somebody like a Ninja or something in terms of cranking out damage in the Hydra. But watch this A1. We run up here. Boom. 201 and 220. So cranking out 421 there on the A1. I know it's a severed head with Hex and all the debuffs on it, but shows you the potential that this guy can do damage in that context, which makes it worthy, or makes him worthy of being built like a hybrid and not just being a flat out 0 DPS support. And then this was how that key ended up shaping out. I just stopped it when I got up here to a decent sample size of like 22 million. And you can see that Ragash did 4.2 million. a little bit less than half of Ninja. Ninja is obviously an amazing damage dealer, but definitely keeping pace. You can see there, keeping up with Mithrala and doing a decent amount of damage. It's not like it was nothing, like the Duchess coming in here at 627 or something. Now let's pull up the tier list that I had here from my initial grades on him, and let's see if I agree or disagree on my initial grades now that I've had a chance to really dive in and prepare and test him a little bit more. So grading out is at 8.3 on a scale of 1 to 10 basically is how my tier list works. I could kind of agree with that on the surface. Book value, everything, arena, XP farm, faction wars, he's definitely amazing. He's almost a 12 there on faction wars. Actually, I probably will go 12 on faction wars. He's gonna be an amazing skinwalker to have on your roster. Doom, Hydra, Dragon with the defense down and all the buffs. Yeah, I think most of this is fair. Minotaur with the speed and the defense break, he might honestly be like a 10 on the Minotaur. Pretty solid on the Golem too. He is a defense champion, so he's gonna get hit hard, but he also places strength and speed. Yeah, I'd say 10's probably fair on some of these dungeons. Void Keep, he's fine. He'll do the defense break and help do some damage as well. A little bit more niche on these. The Force Keep, he's just perfectly designed for that. And the Arcane Keep, he's an 11 probably. So I'm gonna bump him up slightly. I do think he's really generally useful. So I'm gonna think I was mostly fair. I'll bump him up from like an 8.3 to an 8.4. So yeah, in conclusion, I'm mostly happy with Ragash. I think they did mostly a pretty good job of designing him and putting together a pretty generally useful kit and concept for a champion. And he's going to be very solid for a faction that needed a solid addition to the game and bringing a cool addition to the raid roster, in my opinion. Not the godliest, Duchess, Prince Kaimar type of champion in the game. Not every champion can be that. I think he's going to fill a good niche and be a pretty solid addition to the game. So let me know if you agree or disagree with my assessments, as I'm always open to changing grades on tier lists and stuff like that. So I always appreciate your input as well. That'll do it for me on this one. As always, thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.